down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Hey, you tuned in to the Savvy Radio Show. My name is VanCauwenbergh. I am your host of The Most, trying to get it done just like you, and I'm in the trenches just like you each and every day. I had to take a deep breath there to grind it out. Anyway, this podcast is about pretty much everything that I've recently have just gone through for the month of August. And this week, we're in September, and we're getting to the end of the line. I turned 49 this month. Wow, that is a milestone. That's one thing. Let's start off with that. When I was younger, 17, 18, roughly around 18, 19, I think I was in college at this time. And I made a commitment to myself that when I turned 50, now again, at 18 years old, I was like, dang, I can't even think that far, right? I was more concerned about some girl like me or not, or if I was going to pass this test, or how am I going to get the money to get the book, to go to the class, right? So, I mean, my mind was just in a totally different perspective as it is now, about to turn 49. And here's the thing. I said to myself when I was 18 years old, I can remember, I don't want to have regrets. When I get to 50 years old, I don't want to say, I should have did this, I could have did that. Bam. I'm going to tell you right now, I have no regrets. Yes. Has it been easy? Yes. No, it hasn't. I'm just joking. It has been difficult. It has been a struggle. Actually, that just came up recently in a conversation. You know, would I trade anything or have done anything different? No, I think that the labor, the intensity, the abuse, the wrong decisions, the losses, just refine you and make you a better person. And that's kind of one of the things I'm going to cover today. But what I'm going to cover today in today's podcast, it's not organized. I just threw up on a piece of paper, wrote out so many, and I don't know how long this is going to take. You know me by now. I don't really write podcasts. I just scribble notes down and I just go off. Most of the time, I don't even know what I'm saying. So bear with me. Have patience. But the ultimate goal in each and every podcast isn't to inspire you, to get you off that couch, or to push you one step further to what your goals or dreams. And ultimately, I hope some of those are freedom, financial freedom, freedom of something, freedom of addiction, freedom of just doubt and fear of who you are as a person. And through my struggles, learning through the trenches, I hope that you get inspired from that. Number one, hey, I wrote down, I'm going to read it verbatim because I randomly just did this stuff, but I was like, number one, rest. No rest. Let stuff happen to you and have rest to make a better decision, right? So this is a rule of thumb that I have. If it's a major decision, I got to wait 24 hours to make that decision. And you need to rest in that situation. There's going to be some seasons in your life where you're going to be working day and night. And I feel like that right now in my own life. But there's some times like the weekend, let's say Labor Day weekend or the Memorial weekend or something, take some time to rest. And what I've been doing just recently is like basically taking a whole day off in the middle of the week and just maybe do errands or maybe just read, like sit there and read. And actually, that's something else I need to talk about later about what just transformed in my life about reading. But I kind of fell off the wagon. I guess I'm going to talk about it. But I fell off the wagon this last month and I got sucked into this TV show called Prison Break. You probably know about it anyway. And I was just wasting my life away. And then I just made a commitment, a 30-day purge of not watching any television at all, and replace it with a book, a habit, whatever. And it's just incredible. I could just see the actual transformation in my own personal life of getting off television and within a short amount of time. You know, and I haven't been watching TV in a long time. I mean, for years. And then I got sucked into Prison Break. It's a great show. Anyway, I know that's another fun fact about Steve VanCauwenbergh that you really didn't want to learn. But the point is, number one is rest. Like genuinely just rest. Like just take a moment, maybe shut this laptop down, maybe just drive off, like literally go to your favorite restaurant and eat by yourself and just rest. Get off your phone and just rest. Somebody needed to hear that today. I'm in the trenches. Sometimes you need to rest. Number two, All right. So I learned this from a wonderful mentor of mine. He said the difference between, Stephen, what's the difference between a filet and a sirloin steak, right? He's like, when you're getting free coaching from somebody, it's the filet. I mean, not the filet. It's the sirloin. You get it just enough to kind of get it going, or you really like the steak. But if you really want to go to the next level, you need to hire a coach. The minute you pay for someone, it just changes the dynamic and you get the filet mignon. I'm not joking. I just recently hired a new coach, and it's just been an amazing process. And I forget, I get so complacent or I get so busy in some other area, and I hire, I used to hire coaches a lot, and I haven't in a while. And then I just hired this coach, and it's really pushed me, and actually took me about a week and a half because I was kind of overwhelmed. Like the guy was like, brr, 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 do this, brr, 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 and I was like, that's what I do to other people. I tell them what to do. These are the things that you need to be doing, or these are the things you need to be working on. But when I just received, and he when I started paying this individual, I was getting the filet mignon. I was getting the top. I was getting the real shrimp, right? Not the little babies. I'm talking about the king shrimp, the big deal. The cocktail sauce came with it. So I know you're struggling right now in some area. You might want to just try it casually. And this coach that I hired, when he quoted me the price, I was like, damn. I'm like, wow, you really charge $28,000, and I was kind of like, but I was like, hey man, this is what I can't afford. This is what I can't afford at this time. And it just worked out. The guy was a superstar, and he's just impacting my life. And a lot of it is, as he's just guiding me, and then I just get feedback. But again, go for the filet mignon. Stop getting the sirloin. Stop going to the place and get the big thing. And when you pay, you will blow it up. And that's number 2. Number 3, listen. This came up in a conversation when I was coaching somebody about being sued, okay? And, the fear of being sued in general. I'm not talking about just like the random fear. And this is something I need to tell you, that you may be going through your whole career and never be sued and have 1,000 units. Or you may have 1 unit or 1 business and you get sued right out the gate. Listen, that's just the risk that it takes in society today in life. It's going to happen, maybe not. And maybe you're the fortunate one that doesn't happen. And regardless of if it does happen or ever happened, people are just weird in general, and people are malice, and there's people all over the planet that want to take you down, okay? And there's a thing called the strong man, and we'll get into that maybe some other day. But you're marked, right? And if you take a leap of faith, you take a risk, you're even more marked. And so I just want to tell you, get over it, okay? It's mental drama, and just let it slide. I remember very vividly, I got a letter in the mail, and I'm being sued for a trademark infringement. And man, I was like, oh God, my life is going to end. And then it was dumb. It was like they had no grounds. And I did call an attorney, and he's like, yeah, buddy, you're infringing on their trademark. Oh man. And so it just worked out. We can get into that detail. If that's something you want to hear about, how this trademark infringement, I learned a lot about trademarks, and it's just a wonderful process. And it was a great process. I bought a domain, and I forwarded it to the wrong thing. And I was confusing the market, and eventually I sold it to him. I should have sold it to him for a lot more, but you live and you learn. It was a process, but I had to go through that. But the one thing that you need to understand, if you have faith or not, if you believe in a God or not, I think you need to walk in authority. As a business owner, you need to look in the mirror and say, I own this business. I take responsibility, and I walk in authority. As a Christian, I have the big God on my team. And so sometimes I forget that I'm not out here on this earth alone, and I also have an army of friends that I just rally around me, especially right now I'm injured. And I have some friends texting me right now, man, I'm sorry that you're injured. Let me pray for you. What's going on? How long? It's just cool. I can walk in authority. I can walk in belief that I'm going to get healed. I'm going to walk that this process is only going to make me better. And it reminds me of another investor that called me. He made some bad decisions, and he was crying, and he wanted to give up. And I was just in my mind, he's not my client. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, buddy, these are small compared to what you're going to be. If you want to become great, you're going to have to go through great struggles. this, losing this little amount of money. And it may be a lot amount of money in his world, but there's many times that I have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and have I rebounded? Yes. Was it painful? Absolutely. Was I worth the risk? Probably, kind of. Someone reminded me of, I bought a 34,000 square foot building and I lost 20 G's and it slapped me in my face. But it was a great process. With that $20,000 that I lost, that I learned a lot. Yep. I learned that I was dumb, that I should have stopped at phase 2, and I went to phase 3 in that process. But it was a great opportunity. I learned master leases. I just learned a lot through that process. So when I translate to 20,000 of failure, and some people can't hear the word failure, you got to accept the fact that you're going to fail. The more that you fail, the more that you're going to succeed faster. So stop fooling around. Don't let this mental drama affect your game. And you just got to keep pushing on, okay? So it's inevitable somewhere, somehow, and someone's not going to like you. It's inevitable. You can't please everybody. So get used to it. Move on. I don't know who needed to hear that. I wrote that down because one of my friends was dealing with that, and I was like, man, just get over it and move on. Life will get better. I promise. Number 4. Sorry, I was a little excited. So, and this leads into the next couple of them, but I'm just going to read what I wrote, and then I'm going to try to articulate it. It says, the valuable lesson, if you're too busy, you will lose $1 million deal. All right. Let me say this again. The value lesson here is that if you're too busy, you will lose $1 million deal. Now, in my Savvy Landlord book, the first book that I wrote, I talked about a story in there about an awesome contractor friend of mine who, and actually a realtor, was cheap, and he was on a ladder painting a rental property, which probably would have cost him $500 to $1,000 to paint this property. But he was all geared up, and he couldn't get to his phone, and he had a bunch of mailers out, and a call came in, and this lady wanted to sell her house, and he missed that opportunity. And he remembers that, and I talked about it in the book. It was a $30,000 transaction profitability that he lost, right? Again, this relates to the drama. This situation that I'm talking about, we're talking several hundred acres of land, and I'm in a group of investors, and we're purchasing this land, and the individual that's running this transaction, the seller or the key principal, the sponsor, whatever you want to call this individual, would not get the information that we needed to make an accurate decision to make this multi-million-dollar purchase. And it made the investors, the group that I'm involved in, insecure. And it was just an interesting process it was gut-wrenching because I was involved. I had a lot of work involved in this transaction, and we're talking over $15 million here. And we're talking, I don't know what my reception of this, what I would receive, the deal busted. And when I realized through the process is that this individual that we were waiting for was too busy in too many things that he lost that deal. And it was just a valuable lesson for me seeing that pain because I knew this individual and I liked this individual, and just seeing it in front of my own eyes, bro, you're screwing up here. These very wealthy people are going to walk because you did not send an email that you said that you were going to do. And the comments that I heard inside my group were like, if he does business this way now, how is he going to do business when things go awry, or when the numbers don't add up, or when there's a cash call? I mean, I was like, man, I wrote that down. And listen, I wrote that down a month ago, and just, when I was reading these notes right before I got on the radio here, I was like, man, I forgot. I didn't even want to talk about it. And that leads into the other one. And this one really hurt me, okay? So that same transaction, and I'm kind of the lead on the other side. I'm the one with the individual that runs the fund. Okay. And so there's a lot more details, and I don't know if this individual is ever going to listen to this podcast. So I don't want to kind of I'm giving broad strokes here, but you got to get down with me on this one. You got to feel this one, because this is going to affect you, because it really affected me. And, again, I'm back to this over $15 million deal, and we're in the deal, and my job in this transaction is to do the due diligence on this transaction. I have 10 investors in my group trusting me to allocate this, $2 million raise to do this deal. Right. So I'm like, yeah, I got it. I got it, guys. I'm in it. I vetted it out. I know the sponsor. Hey, we going to do this deal. It's going to be legit. And well, number 4 before this is the deal blows up because this information that was critical that needed to be done was never delivered. And then when we finally raised some eyebrows about it and had to talk to another person, we kind of got these numbers and they just didn't jive. Okay. And then it just the deal collapsed. So when I met with the group, and I'm the lead of this group, and they just punked me like, no, we're not doing this, VanCauwenbergh. You suck that you even, I got a lot of backlash. And I'm just being dramatic on the you suck. They're just like, hey, these numbers don't make sense. This is not a 3-year play. This is a 10-year play. We're only in investments right now that are within 36 months. These don't match our parameters. The cost of doing this, their numbers are off. And we're not going to argue with these individuals because, one, they wouldn't respond when we needed them, and why would we want to move forward? And I was like, okay, I got it. I get it. Okay, I represent you as a group. I will go to the deal maker and I will say, hey, we're going to bow out. Man, when I told the dude that, these are the concerns and this is why, the guy blew up on me. He literally blew up on me. And I was like, wow. And he made it seem like I committed to this. And I'm like, well, how could I commit to things? Because we don't have any information. And he really, and then the crazy thing is that he sent this text message, and he intended it to send the text message to his partner, but it got to me talking trash about me. And I was like, wow. And I replied back to this dude. I was like, hey, I think you sent this to the wrong person. And then the guy replied back with, it was the truth. I was like, and everything he said wasn't accurate. It was a lot of miscommunication, a lot of preconceived what he thought. And I was really kind of bummed about it, right? I'm like, where did I go wrong here? And so I went back to the group because I'm authentic. I'm telling you right now, if you're involved and there's money involved and you're in my network and there's money and you're giving me money and you're in part of my investment or something, I'm going to be full 100 transparent. Like, look, I'm perfect. I'm not perfect. I take dumps too. All right. And I have said the wrong thing multiple times. And I have actually done the same exact thing this poor guy did. I was broken. I really didn't know this guy. And he was a professional and he had some professional credentials. Okay. So he just marked that whole industry. And the great thing is one of the guys in my group, one of the guys in my group said, thank God we know this now, the way he operates and does business, because this multi-million-dollar transaction, what would it look like with his behavior? I was like, wow, I learned that, because usually it's me that has that kind of problems, the big mouth, right? But what was really interesting, I got frustrated and I started cutting this dude off. Like, I'm never going to do business with this dude. This is the guy that sent this text message. I'm like, okay, I'm going to protect myself. I can't believe this happened. And where did I go wrong? And how could I fix this? And, I learned a lot through this process, especially in the position that I am representing this investment club. And one of my friends, the investor in the group, said this. He's like, hey, man, you got to look at it like this. He goes, you're not responsible. The guy was desperate. You got to keep in mind, Steven, this dude has been working on this multi-million-dollar transaction for how long? I don't know, a couple years. And when he found our group and he thought that he got the money, he thought. And when we figured out this was not 100% solid, he lashed out because you just took away everything that he's been working for a couple years and he hasn't made any money. And I was like, that's powerful, man. Because I was just about to slice and dice this dude. I mean, in my mind, I cut him off. And I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to work with this dude. And I probably would work with him if he would apologize. Like, we've all made mistakes, right? I've said the wrong thing multiple times, even on the podcast, even when I speak. And I really appreciate this group that I'm involved in and the man that just rose up on me. And because I was about to be a hater. And he's like, listen, man, he's desperate. And, my other investor that's in the group, he's like, you see, we're lucky, we're fortunate that we're not in this transaction. Imagine, we're giving millions of dollars, and what if he had acted that way when it was funded and it wasn't going well? I was like, yeah, I already knew that, but, you got to forgive and you got to move on. And it was just interesting. And what really struggles with me, and I hope that you can gain something from this because I have no idea what I'm saying. But the guy that blew up on me, I was really good friends with him who introduced me to him. And it has tainted my view towards my friend, who I thought would call me by now, or I know they've had a conversation about me, would apologize, or at least say, hey, what went wrong here? How could we have done this better? And vice versa. Now, I'm the one providing, I'm not orchestrating the deal. I'm just representing the money in the situation. But it's very interesting. It's just a process, and this is just life in general. You're in dealing with money, it changes people's dynamic. You're dealing with human beings, it changes dynamic. And so the process that I learned here is like slow down and figure it out. All right. So what I learned, number 6, is when you create this pressure in scarcity mentality, you really may not know those people. And it just takes time. Number 6, you've got to just take time to really get to know people and their behavior. And that leads into another transaction that I was involved in. I'm still involved in, where sometimes you could be so cheap, it could hurt you. And, sometimes you got to look at the big picture. What's going on here? I was offended because he hurt me, but what's the big picture? The big picture is, man, I didn't do that deal. Thank God. Or you're so cheap and you're nickel and dime over $500, you could lose the deal. Or how about lose a friendship? And what's more important? Now, there's sketchy people out there that worry more about the negotiating than life, or worrying about getting all the chips and everyone else loses, or the zero-sum game, right? Someone has to win and someone has to fail. That's not true. I'm telling you, that's just not how it works. We're in a humanistic game of real estate, investments, and money. There's always going to be a variable. What I'm saying for number 6, be patient and look for that variable. All right, number 7. I've talked about this a ton of times, pain or pleasure. Sometimes people only operate with pain, like get off the pot and I'm just telling you right now, again, this is like the 3rd time I've said this in this podcast, which is weird. I must have been through a lot of pain last month, but slow down and wait. And there's nothing wrong at waiting for the right opportunity. And through that pain, that you can prove that you can fight through the pain. Okay. So the dude that I was talking about earlier that was crying, it's just a test. How strong are you going to be to fight through the pain? I know you're going through some problems right now because I know I am. It's not easy. It's not been a great 2 weeks, but I know that I can prove myself through the pain. I can fight through the pain. And on the other side, it will pay off. Number 8, know your cycles. Know what cycle we're in right now and as an investor. May it be oil, because I've been studying the oil market for a while. I missed that cycle. Or obviously real estate. 23 years I've been a real estate investor, blah, blah, blah. Know your cycles. I'm seeing guys right now that are dying and they're stuck with inventory. And also know your cycles that contract for deeds are paying off. And so what I'm trying to tell you is interest rates are creeping up to 7%. I know you see it on the news, but I had a loan renewal come through, and this is the first time I've ever seen a bank willing to renew that loan for 12 months, 3 years, or 5 years, and that's it. And each tier, the interest rate went up higher. If I wanted to lock in my renewal, it was 7% on a 5-year lock. I mean, it's unheard of that a typical bank would want to lock money only for 12 months. And I know why they're doing it, because of the cycle. And so you as a real estate investor, wherever you're at, you've been doing this for 10 years, 15 years, 6 months. Listen, go read a couple of books. There's a book I think called The Boom Cycle. I can't remember. I talked about it a long time ago. Understand cycles. Understand real estate cycles. And in the beginning, when you start studying cycles, yeah, it happens in 10 years and blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, the first cycle, I've been doing this. This is my third cycle. I had no idea. The second cycle, I had an idea. The third cycle that I'm in, I know exactly what's going on right now in the market. But you, and while you're listening to this podcast, you need to understand what cycle you're in and how to hedge against that cycle you're in and how to prepare for the next cycle and how to get through this cycle, and don't get too caught up dying or making bad decisions, or in the inventory's changing, or you have too much inventory, or you're not cash flowing enough, and do not run all your numbers on a 30-year amp. Number 9, sometimes God will allow you to go through some challenges, not to test you, but test some people around you. And that relates to number 4 and 5, what the dude blew up my face. I mean, you know, I'm always thinking this to myself because we're selfish people, right? But see, sometimes God allows me to go through that struggle with him so he could test some other people around me. Maybe hopefully that story will get better. Like that dude blew up on me 6 weeks ago. I've never heard from him again. Now, that's just not how you do business, but hey, you know, that's just how I roll. But I'm going to keep on going, right? I mean, I may have did something wrong. I don't know. I may have said the wrong thing, but I didn't sign any documents, and the information that you gave me was wrong. So why would I proceed? And you could blow up on me, but if you did your, you know, again, we talked about that, but I don't want to reiterate it. But here's the deal, Stephen, it's not about you at that moment. It really is about him. And he's going through some stuff. So you need to understand that it's not about you. Number 9, sometimes you will allow you to go through something challenging, not to test you, but test some people around you. I don't know where I got that, but I got that somewhere in reading some book, or someone told me that. I wish I can give credit to somebody for that. That is not Steve VanCauwenbergh. That's not the Holy Spirit coming through me. I guess that's the Holy Spirit using somebody else to tell me. And it's so powerful, I want to say it one more time. Sometimes God will allow you to go through some challenging things, not to test you. That's usually what goes on, right? We're being tested. We're stretched. We're going bigger, whatever, becoming better. We're going to go through some hard times. But the reality is, it's just to test somebody around you. Come on. Can I get an amen? Amen. Number 10, under pressure, those fake people will be exposed by the truth of your friendship. Woo, come on. Man, I need to be a preacher up at this mother. Number 10, I don't know where this is coming from. I wrote this down a month ago, and I'm just now doing this podcast. Under pressure, those fake people will be exposed by the truth of your friendship. Come on. I don't know what that means. That tells you something. All right, number 11. The struggle is real. Listen, I sound like I got it all together. All right. Oh, the savvy landlord. Boop, boop. Or savvy investor. Boop, boop. Steve VanCauwenbergh. Boop, boop. Super, super duper real estate investor. Whatever you think of me is probably not true. Here's the reality. I struggle just like you. I put together the Savvy Boot Camp, and I'm excited. I spent all this time and energy because I really want to help people. And then I had to make a conscious decision. Sometimes you got to put things down and close the book. It may not be advantageous for you at that time. Sometimes life is more important than income. I always felt like I had to do this class. I felt like I had to do the Savvy Boot Camp to keep my whatever, or to make a short-term gain, whatever the case may be. Sometimes you just gonna have to shut it down. The struggle's real, man. I'm too busy. My family's way more important. That's another Saturday or another Friday night I'm going to have to lose. And that's something that's really big in my life right now, man, is like time is not renewable. I can make as much money as possible, right? If I lose X amount of money, if I lose $100 tomorrow, I know I could figure out how to make another 100, right? It's renewable. Energy, kind of renewable, right? You can eat a Cliff Bar, kind of renewable, right? But time, boom, that's it. It's out. Just podcasts, just 40 minutes, out, bye, see ya. I can't get it back. Remember that. The struggle's real. Remember that. The struggle's real. All right, we're going to leave it there. I got some more on here, so that was number 11. Anyway, if any of these inspired you in any way, fashion, form, let your boy know. Go to Savvy Investors. You can click on the speak thing. You could send me an email. You can find a cell phone number that goes right to me on my website. It's very random that no one ever texts me. Why wouldn't you? Hey, here's a suggestion. Hey, I'm struggling with that. And you know what I'm going to say? Hey, so am I. Let's struggle through this together and let's get this done and let's solve this problem and let's move on and become better as iron sharpens iron. Why don't we do that? Why are we afraid to admit, to raise our hand, to say, I'm hurting, I'm struggling, help me? Or you're afraid to tell somebody you're doing a phenomenal job, big dog. And I just want to tell that to you. Someone needs to tell you you're doing a good job. Hey, you listen to this podcast. I'm in my mind, you're doing a great job. How many people you know out there that are trying to get better? How many people you know that actually read a book and finish? Yes, it's easy. You can get on Spotify or your iTunes and hit play and get the information. At least you're making a step. So for that, I'm proud of you. The second thing you need to do to make me really proud of you, go out there and take responsibility of your financial life and go buy an asset.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.